Hey guys, I thought I might do a little bit of a review in regards to the Inokim Ox scooter. The reason for this is that I'm a big fan of reviews and I like to watch a lot of reviews on before I buy stuff, just so I've got an understanding of what it's like, what its capabilities are, any pros and cons. And unfortunately there's not a lot out there on the Inokim Ox at the moment. That said, when I tried one in person, and if you're looking to buy one of these, I recommend you do have a go at one of these in person. They're absolutely fantastic, and I'll explain shortly why. But let me flip the camera around if I can. Rightio, so here is the Inokim Ox. I've put it right beside my son's scooter as well, so you can gauge a bit of an idea on the size of this thing. So the one on the left is obviously my son's scooter. It's a standard kick scooter that all the kids use. It's not like a child size, but it's not a full grown adult size as well. Just for reference, he's 8 years old. But yeah, there you go. So as you can see, the Inokim Ox is considerably larger in size, length and height obviously. So I bought my Inokim Ox a couple of days ago, about 4 or 5 days ago, and I bought it as a commuter to work. I live about 13 k's away from work, and it's through quite a hilly area. So I went to try a couple of the different Inokim scooters. I tried the Speed 3, I think it is, and the Light 2. With like the 350 and the 450 watt motor, whereas this one has the 800 watt motor. And power isn't everything, I understand that, and I was really open-minded. I think the Quick 3 went for about $2,000, the Light 2, and the Quick 3 had the 450 watt motor. The Light 2 was $1,700 or thereabouts, and in Australia this Inokim Ox retails for about $2,500 or just under, depending on where you get it from. But it's significantly larger in size than both those other two scooters I mentioned, but it was definitely the right scooter for me. So if you're living in an area where there's no hills or anything along those lines, then you know, one of the Light 2s or the Speed 3s might very well be suitable for you. For me, I live in Graceville, and I have to go through the Indooroopilly Hills, which are exceptionally hilly, and to the point where there's a couple of different gradients. We're up to 40 to 45 degrees gradient, so quite steep hills that go for quite a little while, a couple of 100 meters. So I needed something that was going to have a bit of grunt to get through those hills, and that's what initially led me to check these scooters out, but then ultimately decide on the Inokim Ox for me. It has a couple of cool features which the other ones doesn't have as well. As you can see, it's dual suspension front and rear. Now, I don't want you to get confused with like normal suspension. This sort of suspension works on like a rubber block system, and I'll see if I can show you from the front here. So if you see this housing here, essentially this housing is connected to the front crank arm. It's the same for the rear suspension, but inside here there's a series of big rubber balls or what have you, and the crank just has, like, there's obviously levers in here which compress that rubber. So yes, it is the suspension, but it doesn't have that sort of rebound rate that if you're looking for a ride that's going to be smooth and it's just going to float along all the bumps. You still feel the bumps, but it just takes out the greater portion of that bump to a certain degree. For me though, I ride, like I said, about 13 k's each way. I do a lot of standing up during the day, so the ride home, by the time I get home, is is a little bit wearing on the feet. 39 years old, so maybe that has got something to do with it. If you're younger, maybe it's not such an issue for you. But anyway, I thought I might go through some of the pros and cons of this scooter, and then you can make up your mind for yourself. So first things first, I suppose everyone wants to know about speed. So it comes preset with a factory limit of 25 kilometers per hour, but you can online tweak that and get round the menu. And there's my cat, and dial it right up to 45. It's got 3 different speed settings. When it is set to 25, I think the speed settings are about 6 kilometers an hour, 10 to 14 kilometers an hour, and then it goes up to 25. Whereas if you see, I'll just turn it on. See, it starts on the fastest speed, so you just work your way down. It won't show you the numbers here unless I go into the sub menu, but that's how you just alter up your speeds depending on what you want, and then obviously activate with the thumb press. But when you've got it set to 45 kilometers an hour, I think it's about 10 kilometers an hour on the low speed, 30 kilometers an hour on speed 2, and 45 obviously for speed 3. Now I have used this at 45 kilometers an hour, and it feels quite stable. Obviously, you know, it's got smaller front wheels than your standard bike, so you've got to be a bit more mindful, no sharp jerking movements or anything like that, and be mindful about going over bumps and whatnot at that sort of speed, because you could get a little bit unstable and fall off. So I tend to use that sort of speed a bit judiciously, as long as you've got a nice straight stretch. It's safe to do so, but otherwise you get yourself in trouble. So basically, if you keep it on the factory settings, you won't have any dramas, and it'll be a nice safe ride. But it definitely has the speed. If you're looking for something that's fast, it has it, as well as the acceleration. So acceleration on this thing, especially not in setting 1 obviously, because that's designed to maneuver in and around crowded spots where you're walking through the city, etc., etc. But if you are you know, out in the open road, then you want to go onto setting 2, and that is a lot faster. It's got a lot more pickup. You put your finger down on the throttle and it just takes off, and it will continue accelerating. So getting to that, the range on this thing is, the minimum I've got out of this thing is about 65-70 k's. I've now done, if we have a look back up here, I've now done, look on the odometer, 116 k's on this. So I've done a couple of trips to work and back, and it's been fantastic. Hasn't missed a beat, and I can get pretty much easily to work and back 2 times without having to charge. I've got a couple of bars of battery left, which is good. So the next thing is, like I said, I've already spoken about the hill climbing ability of this thing. It easily will go up a 40-degree incline, which is huge. I weigh 80 kilos or 83 kilos, and it with my backpack with stuff for work, it easily pulls me up the hill, which is absolutely fantastic. Next thing is, I suppose, braking. So front drum brakes, which you can see in there. That's the only thing. Would be pity. It would be nice if it had front and rear disc brakes. That would have been really nice. But that said, the front drum brakes operate really well. They're nice and smooth. They don't squeak, unlike the back disc brakes, which you can see. There's all small disc brakes in there. But like with all disc brakes, they tend to sit hard up against that inside one there, and sometimes it makes that little squeaky noise. I'm assuming as time goes on, there'll be a little bit of wear in there against that brake pad, and it'll stop that squeaking. Okay. What else have I got down here? Oh, lights. Okay, so you can see there's a rear light there. So when you put on the brakes, that light will indicate for the people traveling behind you that you are braking, which is kind of cool. At the front here, you've got a couple of lights, one on that side and one on that side, and they crisscross each other and illuminate the road ahead quite nicely, but only a short distance. So like me, I work night shift and late shifts and all sorts of shift work obviously, and you know, it's not the be all and end all. It just gives you basic illumination. So I've just added a simple light here from Kmart. I think that cost me about $6, and that's well and truly bright enough to light the way. So just add one of those. The other ones are just basically probably purely a bit more visibility and, you know, short range sort of stuff. Next thing I suppose I want to talk about is quality of this bike. It's quality of this scooter. It's really well made, first and foremost. The details down everything is quite nice. It's well painted, well presented, and comes well boxed. All the fittings are quite nice, and there's good quality as well. Although that said, I think some of the coatings on like the aluminium here is fairly light on. You can see some of that, and that was just me putting it together. There wasn't any vicious turning or anything like that. So I think the coating on this one is quite cheap, a little bit more durable on the main stem, but it's just these add-on little parts that have a fairly light coating, I think, of the anodizing material. But otherwise the rest of the scooter is really good quality. Cruise control, oh, that's the other thing. So I haven't set it up on this thing yet, but apparently you go through the sub menus, and I might do a video on this later, go through the different sub menus, and you can set it to cruise control. So if you're cruising at a particular speed for more than 6 to 10 seconds, you can take your thumb off and it'll hold that speed, and the only way to break that speed again is to either tap the accelerator or the brakes. Useful feature, if you've got a long commute, along long straight stretches, you've got good visibility, you can utilize that and make your life a little bit easier. Okay, so I suppose what everyone else to hear are the cons. Okay, so a con for me for this thing is, well, it is huge. So it's rather large. So it's not something that you're just going to be able to just fold down the stem and just walk around carrying in the store. It weighs 28 kilos, which is a significant amount, especially if you're a lady or what have you. But you can obviously just wheel it around the shops if need be. It's fine, it's got a little kickstand there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so it is definitely a weighty beast at 28 kilos. Next thing is, I sort of touched on that earlier, is the vibrations. It does vibrate. In terms of not like clunky, like I'm off balance kind of vibration, but just the general road vibration that comes through. And at the end of the day, if you've been standing up, they can tire your feet out. So I try to wear my Skechers, which are kind of pretty soft and squishy, and that helps soak up a lot of the vibration that the brakes, that the suspension can't manage. The other thing is, it recommends brake pressures in your tire between 40 and 50 psi. I started at 50 initially and quickly wound it back down to 40 for a more comfortable, smoother ride. Okay, also for charge time. So here's the charging port over here. It's hard to look on the video and record, but there you go. Just flip that back, plug it in, make sure you have it switched off at the power point first, plug it into there, then turn it on at the power point so you don't short out your battery, which is huge, and it's sitting in under here. And then you can pull it back over the top. So this is not waterproof, obviously, as you can see. It's just a plastic. Can you hear that? It's sort of like a hard plastic cover, and it's not going to be waterproof. And they say don't ride this thing in the rain. However, I have seen a couple of YouTubers over in Europe, and they've ridden theirs in the rain. Do that at your own peril. Look, the plastic curves over the top here, so I can't imagine a great deal amount of water would get in here. And I believe there is a seal underneath here. But that said, it's an electrical device. Use a bit of your own smarts and keep it out of the water as much as you can. Because you ride through a puddle, you don't want to destroy this thing, or it'll cause yourself damage. You have to get repaired, and these aren't cheap at $2.5 grand. Charge time is probably the next thing. As I was talking with the charger, charging port there. Charge time, it takes about 8 hours from full empty. Sometimes a little bit longer. Just depends. It's a slow charge, but like I said, the charge lasts for ages. So I pretty much only take 1 or 2 lines off my power gauge right here after doing 26 Ks, which is my round trip to work and back. It'll be like down 2, so I'll still have 3 left. I pop it on a charge and it goes for a couple of hours, and then it's back up to charge again. Okay, that brings me to my last sort of negative point, is the main stem. So if you see down here, it's got this little clip mechanism, right? So you pull this back, and then you undo this one, and this comes down. Yeah, that's it. And then down it comes. Now I put that. You can see there's 2 little bits of paper in there, okay? And that's because it's got this latch. See how the latch is square on the bottom? You see that squareness? Yep. And if we come in here, right here, that's where it clips in under here, okay? So it doesn't. When you close it up and you latch it tight, all it is pulling that little nubbin into place, into that spot. But in doing so, I'm just trying to stop the scooter from falling over while I video this. As you pull the latch tight, it just pulls this bit in, okay? And so it doesn't pull the bar, this section of the bar, down that way. And that's where you can get a little bit of looseness. Okay, so hold on a sec. When I mean looseness, I wonder if you can hear it, but I'm going to. Can you hear that ticking? So as I move it forward and back, there is a little bit of slack. There is a little bit of slack in there, and that's why I've put the those bits of paper there. Okay, those little bits of paper there are just to absorb just to make it that little bit tighter. It does come with a couple of spare bits of rubber that you can put in there. I'm assuming it's for that purpose, although putting another piece of rubber in there just makes it a little bit too thick to close. So I just got to wait for that first rubber to wear down a little bit, and then I'll put the second one in there, and hopefully that gets rid of that squeeze, or that squeak, sorry. But otherwise, the scooter is rock steady. It's at no threat of collapsing, don't get me wrong. It's just I don't like squeaks. So squeaks and long charge time. It weighs a lot, but this thing is a hell of a beast. It goes like the clappers. There's nothing out there that I've seen or heard of that goes anywhere near as fast as this or can manage the hills that this thing can. So it also comes with this fancy little bell, which is kind of cool if you think so. But anyway, yeah, hope you like the review. Hopefully this helps you in deciding what you want to do. And yeah, got any questions, post them below. But otherwise, yeah, take it easy, and hopefully you get one and you enjoy yourself. All right, bye for now.